Finding comfort and healing in facing our challenges is not an easy task. Each of us has our issues, the pains we've experienced, the traumas, the difficulties, suffering within our families, outside of our families. And we seek solutions. And that's one of the most elusive and most difficult things to accomplish. And we're not looking for a short-term Band-Aid, but long-term, sustainable solutions. So there is indeed a 3,000-year-old blueprint, guide. We call it the divine art of healing. 7 steps to comfort. And we began with part 1, where we explored the sea of comfort. 7 steps are hidden in the very word comfort. The sea of comfort is connect. How connection serves as a tremendous catalyst to finding healing, to finding comfort, consolation. Now we're going to do part 2, and we're going to address the O and the M of comfort. C-O-M-F-O-R-T, the O-M-M. Open your heart and make space. Please join me as we continue this journey of the 7 steps to comfort, the divine art of healing. Hi, this is Simon Jacobson. We're going to be addressing part 2 of the divine art of healing, 7 steps to comfort. Connect, open your heart and make space. This program is dedicated by Michael Newson in memory of Rab Chaim Yeshua ben Yitzchak Yisachar Dov, the Ilui Nishmosei, the elevation of his neshama, his soul. We began part 1 of this series called The Divine Art of Healing, 7 Steps to Comfort, all hinted to in the very word comfort itself. And those are the 7. Connect, see, open your heart, make space, feel, offer light, reassure, transform. So after exploring the power of connection, in this part 2 we're going to discuss open your heart and make space. We know there's the idea of intellectual intelligence, IQ. But how about EQ? Emotional intelligence. Far more difficult. The mind, first of all, naturally grows as we get older. We learn more experience, and hopefully we make less mistakes. We have a more intelligent, more objective approach to things. But emotions, do our emotions grow? Because you can be a 20-year-old, a 30-year-old, a 50-year-old, and still have certain immature attitude to life. You may now know how to cover it up, whereas a 5-year-old will have a tantrum. You may have an internal tantrum. But can we actually develop our emotions, mature our emotions? And the answer is absolutely yes. And that's what this O of open your heart begins to address. Obviously, it follows connecting, but it's about opening your heart. So let's define what that means. On one hand, we are all subjective creatures. We're subjective, self-interest, survival of the fittest, me. This doesn't mean necessarily we're destructive, but I come first. So your natural reflexive and impulsive emotions are about your own needs. And we indeed see that as a young child. That's when a young child cries, it's tired, it's hungry, it's in pain. But as we get older, we start learning to have a relationship. There's another person. Share a toy that you're playing with. Say thank you. Say please. Show gratitude. So we begin to learn how to have relationships, which really means how to open your heart to another. And early on in life, our love is mostly one way. Our parents are giving us love, hopefully. And then there's the natural love that every child may have to a parent. But as we grow, you need to work on that. Because you're always going to have the temptation to just think about yourself. That's called being subjective. And that's part of life. But you can check it and you can harness it. And it's that sensitivity that we develop that defines the empathy of our lives. We learn to feel another. We learn to recognize that you may be causing somebody joy or pain. It's the respect. And above all, it's opening your heart to hear another. Very often we're so consumed with our own needs that we can't open ourselves up for another. Think of it like a full cup. When your cup is full, there's no room for anything. So it's really a process of emptying yourself. Not obliterating yourself, not annihilating yourself, but like suspending your self-interest and opening yourself to another's human being and their needs. And of course, it's self-understood how that's critical in the steps toward healing and comfort and consolation and growth. But it takes work. It takes work. Especially when you're consumed with something. And someone asks you for a favor or asks you, can you give me a few minutes? So it's easy to dismiss, I'm busy now. And sometimes you are. Obviously you need to make a judgment call. But you never want to reject someone else's call for help. Because you're so self-consumed. You could always tell someone, come back a little later, or let's schedule a time. And this is vital to the very, we'll call it the very collective organism of the human race. And we can see it with our own, the internal microcosm organism of yourself. Imagine your body and your organs and the different parts of your body did not speak to each other this way. Your heart is pumping blood. And every part of your body needs blood. But the heart says, you know what, right now I'm busy with myself. I'm not busy with you. It doesn't work that way. Now, of course, there's contraction, expansion, and the heart needs to take care of itself, so to speak, in order to provide blood to the rest of the body. But there's always a give and take. There's always, again, there's to be always be an open. An open and close. You breathe, exhale, inhale. An exchange. That's what makes us come alive. So take that from the microcosm to the macrocosm. Human beings are the same idea. That is what love is all about. Is two people are not just self-contained islands that don't interact, but they're constantly cross-pollinating. And when we have that, we can deal even with some of the greatest challenges. Because it gives us strength. We're not alone. But more importantly, someone feels for you. I'm sure you've heard of the concept of mirror neurons. Very intriguing. One classic example is you see someone, God forbid, about to close the door on their finger, or the door is about to slam on their finger, and you'll make ouch, you'll wince. But you're not feeling it. Why are you wincing? Because we identify. Because there's something that mirrors. That person's neurons are mirrored in your own. Now when you introduce into this quantum mechanics and quantum physics, you start understanding that there's an intricate, invisible connection between everything in existence. It's not surprising at all. It's only when we see ourselves as fragmented and separate. And that's all part of the process of true love. The ability to open your heart. Now that also means to be vulnerable at times. It also means that you're not hiding behind masks and behind your armor, and you're allowing your compassion to flow. And as we know, words from the heart enter the heart. When you do that, the response will often reciprocate. And always keep in mind that comfort comes from the heart, not from the head. The mind can tell you that it's right. It can tell you how. But the actual comforting of another is a heartfelt experience. And what it does is gives you much in return, even more than you give. Because it's like massaging your heart. When you massage something, it becomes stronger. It's a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. From that, let us move now to step 3. The M of comfort. Make space. Now you could say, 1 second, isn't open your heart, making space the same idea? Well, one extends from the other, but it requires another step, another emphasis. You can feel for another, but not necessarily make space for them. Make space takes it to another level. It's allowing them the dignity to be who they are. Remember, when sometimes people are hurting, it can be very uncomfortable, very awkward. I remember going to many Shiva calls, which is consolation calls where you condolences to someone who had lost a loved one. But it was a whole different story after I lost my own father, who passed away 20 years ago. It was very different. Because you suddenly realize something that until you experience it, you can't really recognize. And that is the space that people need and the respect of that space. Very many times someone comes to you for advice or for consolation and comfort, and you're ready to have a solution. Do this, do that, do that. And good intentions. That's not creating space. Space is let them cry. Give them room to feel, to express. Let it just flow. Not always comfortable, because it's easier to give advice and just like, let's tackle it. Let's solve the problem. But when it comes to emotional issues, a big part of solving the problem is letting people process it. And people process in many different ways. It can be through tears, it can be laughter, but above all, it's through building trust. And trust happens when you give space. Now, obviously, if you don't open your heart, you're not going to be able to make space. I mean, that's why it goes in that order. And it's the ultimate experience of love, if you think about it. Because you could see love as an emotion, important emotion, but it's more about me. I need love, so I give love. But can you actually respect the dignity and the majesty of another person's life, even if you don't benefit from it in any direct way? Just the glorious journey that they're taking in life, with all its pros and with all its positives and negatives. And people know you're not just respecting what they're asking you, but they're respecting them, the person. Often in counseling, marriage counseling, relationship counseling, I bring up a very interesting concept. It's actually one cited in the Medrash. Medrash is the oral interpretation of Torah. This goes back thousands of years. Talking about over 3,000-year-old blueprint. That after the Jewish people left Egypt, which was, of course, a major event, after hundreds of years of bondage, of genocide, of a Holocaust, so they were very thankful, and they wanted to continue building their relationship with God. They said to God, so tell us what you would expect from us. Give us your laws. Give us your guidelines. Tell us how to align our lives with higher purpose. And God, interestingly, responds to them, first accept me, and then you'll accept my guidelines, my mitzvot, my commandments, my rules, my edicts, however you translate it. What's the point? Let's bring it to human relations. Let's say in marriage, your spouse asks you to do something. You're going shopping, here's a grocery list, please bring back all these items. And you do it. Beautiful. Some people refuse, or are lazy, or whatever it is. But there's something deeper than that. It's not just you're doing what the person asked you to do. You respect them, even if they don't ask you for anything. If I know you respect me, so then I know that when I ask something, you'll do it, even if it's inconvenient. If that respect is not there, if that, I will call it acceptance, or I would go even further, that, like I said before, respecting the space of another, looking for the right word, valuing, even cherishing the other person, then automatically what they ask you for is going to follow. It's a very different relationship. As I said, I often use this, and I challenge the couple and say, think about it. In your connection, is it a connection to each other? Is it a connection to what each of you is asking of the other, or expects of the other, or wants of the other? And therefore there's, okay, you do this, I do this, which of course is necessary, but it has to begin with the foundation. When you love your child, a newborn child, you don't yet expect anything, because the child is not able to yet deliver anything, except their beauty, their innocence, their bubbliness, their life itself, their purity. So love is based on space, the respect, and as I said, the cherishing of another person's space. And that reflects itself. Are you ready to listen? Or are you ready to just advise? All that, when it comes together, leads us to that third critical component in comforting, in consoling, in helping people heal. And you can't underestimate the power of all these things. I'm not addressing even issues that require medication or require surgery, God forbid, or require some intervention, physical intervention. All that we're discussing is even more vital in many ways. Because we're not just machines that you're tinkering and fixing like an auto mechanic. It's a human being. And human beings need, we're talking here the 7 steps to comfort, they need a healing that is also psychic, meaning on a psychological and psyche level, emotional level. So the connection of the C of comfort, open your heart, and now make space, are vital in this process. Without even getting to the other steps, this alone it offers tremendous healing. Of course, in addition, as I said, to anything else that may be needed. This is like the watering of the flower that allows it to blossom, to flourish, to thrive. Even if it may need other elements, but you must water the flower. And with that, we've covered the first 3 steps. And we'll continue in this series, covering the other next 4 of comfort. We'll come away with a true blueprint, a formula, time-tested, proven to work. Not only to help us find healing and comfort, but also to be better people, greater people, to actualize our potential and to go beyond just our subjective and more limited and myopic parameters. And indeed bring healing both to ourselves, to others, and to the world around us. Nothing more gratifying than that. Thank you so much. This has been Simon Jacobson. MeaningfulLife.com is our website, our repository where you can find a tremendous amount of content. Now we have that AI tool where you could ask anything and navigate your way. If this was meaningful to you, please share with others. Continue the cross-pollination. Love to hear your thoughts, your feedback, your comments. And please subscribe. Subscribe to our offerings, so subscribe to our YouTube channel. Be well and be blessed.
This program is brought to you by the Meaningful Life Center. Please help us continue our programs. Make even a small contribution at meaningfullife.com/donate. This program is brought to you by the Meaningful Life Center. Please help us continue our programs. Make even a small contribution at meaningfullife.com/donate.